Alarming rise of organized scientific fraud, study reveals. The scientific record is being rewritten by criminals, and most of us haven't even noticed. That's the bombshell conclusion of a sweeping new investigation from Northwestern University, and it's already sparking fierce debate in labs, editorial offices, and university cafeterias around the world. But here's where it gets controversial. The villains aren't lone wolf fraudsters. They're sprawling, well-funded networks that treat fake science like a global supply chain. And this is the part most people miss. The volume of fraudulent papers is now growing faster than legitimate research. If that doesn't make you sit up, consider the next twist. Some of the authors you cited in your own work may have purchased their spot on the paper for the price of a used car. The study, bluntly titled, "The Entities Enabling Scientific Fraud at Scale Are Large, Resilient, and Growing Rapidly," appeared in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Senior author Louis A.N. Amaral, a complex systems scientist at Northwestern's McCormick School of Engineering, doesn't mince words. Science must police itself better in order to preserve its integrity. His postdoc Reese Richardson, the paper's first author, adds a sobering footnote. If we normalize this behavior, the literature will become completely poisoned. So how did the team prove that science's immune system is failing? They stitched together a data tapestry most of us never see. Every retraction logged by Retraction Watch, every suspicious comment on PubPeer, every editorial timeline that looks too good to be true, and every journal that quietly vanished from Web of Science, Scopus, PubMed, and OpenAlex. Think of it as a forensic audit of the entire publishing ecosystem. What they found reads like a spy novel. Paper mills, underground factories that mass-produce manuscripts complete with fabricated data, photoshopped images and plagiarized paragraphs, sell authorship slots the way scalpers sell concert tickets. First author position, $3,000. Fourth author, $800. Need citations to pad your H-index? That's an upsell. Brokers act as matchmakers, connecting wannabe authors with compromised journals, ghostwriters with lab coat models, and even editors willing to rubber stamp reviews. One broker's email pitch, uncovered by the team, promised guaranteed Scopus indexing within 60 days or your money back. Hijacked journals take identity theft to a new level. When a legitimate title such as HIV nursing ceased operations, fraudsters quietly bought the expired web domain and began publishing thousands of off-topic articles under its once respectable banner. To casual readers and to indexing algorithms, the journal looked alive and well. Collusion rings rotate the same figures, tables, and patients across dozens of papers, inflating publication counts for entire departments. In one jaw-dropping example, 47 papers shared identical Western blot bands, supposedly from labs on 3 different continents. The numbers are staggering. In certain subfields, nanomaterials, computer vision, alternative medicine, the retraction rate now exceeds 3%. That may sound small, until you realize it translates to thousands of papers that hospitals, policymakers, and AI training sets have already ingested. But here's the counterintuitive kicker. Not every scientist caught in this web is a mustache-twirling villain. Early career researchers facing publish or perish pressure, clinicians seeking promotion, or scholars in low-resource settings often rationalize a single purchase as harmless. Richardson calls this reputation laundering on an installment plan. So what's the fix? Amaral and Richardson argue for a four-front battle. 1. Radical transparency in peer review. Imagine every review report and editorial decision timestamp posted online, forever. 2. AI-powered image forensics that flag duplicated blots before a paper ever reaches an editor's inbox. 3. Incentive realignment. Universities must stop rewarding sheer volume and start rewarding reproducibility. 4. A global fraud forecast dashboard. Think weather maps, but for suspicious submissions, so editors can steer clear of hotspots. Yet the clock is ticking. Generative AI is poised to flood journals with grammatically perfect but fact-free manuscripts. If we can't handle today's fraud, Richardson warns, we're toast when AI scales it. Amaral, who fell in love with science as a kid building crystal radios, admits the project left him existentially exhausted. Still, he insists, if you believe science matters, you fight for it, even when the fight is depressing. Now it's your turn. Are Amaral and Richardson fear-mongering, or are they the Paul Reveres of academic publishing? Should journals publish the names of reviewers who green-lighted retracted papers? And is it time to treat organized fraud as a criminal racket, complete with RICO-style prosecutions? Drop your hottest take in the comments. Agreement, outrage, or devil's advocate rebuttal welcome. The future of the scientific record may depend on the conversation we start today, exposing the alarming rise of research fraud. Combating coordinated publication fraud is akin to emptying an overflowing bathtub with a spoon, a co-author of a recent study notes. This daunting task arises because systematic research fraud has outpaced the measures designed to correct it, and shows no signs of slowing down. A study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences on August 4th delves into the issue, examining research fraud facilitated by paper mills, brokers, and predatory publishers. These entities generate low-quality or fabricated research, sell authorships, and publish without proper quality control and peer review, collectively producing a staggering volume of fraudulent research. Anna Abulkina, a researcher at Freie Universität Berlin and creator of the Retraction Watch Hijacked journal checker, praised the study for highlighting the extent of fraud in scientific literature and exploring methods to detect problematic papers, networks, and editors. Researchers and journalists have scrutinized paper mills for over a decade due to their widespread impact on numerous publishers, including significant retraction events at Hindawi journals. The study reveals that the volume of suspected paper mill products has more than doubled faster than corrective actions. Both formal processes like retractions and informal channels such as crowdsourced comments on PubPeer. Co-author Louis Amaral, a professor at Northwestern University, likens this challenge to trying to empty an overflowing bathtub with a spoon. To tackle this pervasive issue, the researchers advocate for a global overhaul of research incentives. They conducted case studies by analyzing metadata from journals like PLOS One and IEEE conference proceedings, cross-referencing with the Retraction Watch database and PubPeer comments. Their findings exposed networks of editors who disproportionately accepted papers that were later retracted or flagged for concerns. For instance, PLOS One has faced paper mill activity in the past. The study identified 45 editors who accepted an unusually high percentage of retracted papers. These editors accounted for 30.2% of all retracted articles. Renee Hawk, head of publication ethics at PLOS, explained that the organization has taken steps to investigate existing articles and paper mill networks, thoroughly screen new submissions, and expand its publication ethics team. Similarly, IEEE conference proceedings, long targeted by paper mills, showed hundreds of conferences with unusually high retraction rates and PubPeer flags. An IEEE spokesperson emphasized the publisher's commitment to maintaining standards through continuous inspection and timely retraction of non-conforming publications. The researchers also mapped a network of papers across major publishers using Scopus and Clarivate's Web of Science, identifying clusters of duplicated images in 34.1% of retracted papers. They focused on RNA biology, finding that compromised subfields had a retraction rate of approximately 4%, compared to 0.1% for uncompromised fields. The study further explored journal hopping using the Academic Research and Development Association, ARDA, a known paper mill broker. As ARDA's listed journals were de-indexed from Scopus, new ones were added, indicating a persistent operation. Despite publishers' efforts, only 28.7% of suspected paper mill products had been retracted as of 2020, with projections suggesting this number may never exceed 25%. These figures likely underestimate the full scope of the problem, as they rely on reported instances of scientific fraud. Amaral likened the scale of the issue to combating the ozone hole over Antarctica, emphasizing the need for broad stakeholder involvement. He called for collaboration among major scientific organizations to implement and advocate for stringent standards across journals, funding agencies, employers, universities, and national laboratories. Individuals can contribute by advocating for policy changes to reduce hypercompetition in science. Scientists can also engage in post-publication peer review and develop high-throughput approaches to identify problematic articles. Meta-scientists can utilize public signals, such as pub peer comments, to uncover misconduct. This comprehensive approach underscores the importance of maintaining scientific integrity and upholding the ideals of scientific research. Rapid growth of scientific fraud brokers, what you need to know. Imagine this: the world of academic research, once a bastion of integrity and truth, is now infiltrated by a growing underbelly of deceit. Companies that facilitate and profit from scientific fraud are not only large and resilient, but are expanding at an alarming rate. This is not a distant threat. It's happening right now, and it's more pervasive than you might think. A recent study has shed light on this dark corner of academia, and the findings are both shocking and eye-opening. But here's where it gets controversial. The strategies meant to combat this issue might not be as effective as we hope. Let's dive in and explore the inner workings of this shadowy world. The study, published in the prestigious Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNAS, on August 4th, focused on the ARDA conference, also known as the Academic Research and Development Association. ARDA is a prime example of what's known as a paper mill, a site that allows academics to add their names to already written scientific papers, which are then published in peer-reviewed journals. These paper mills often operate in the shadows, but ARDA stands out because it openly lists the journals where these papers will be published. This transparency, while seemingly benign, makes it easier for researchers like Reese Richardson, a biologist and research integrity expert at Northwestern University, to study and expose these fraudulent practices. In January 2018, ARDA listed a mere 14 journals on its site. Fast forward to March 2024, and that number has skyrocketed to 86 publications. This exponential growth is particularly concerning, given the efforts by databases like Web of Science and Scopus to de-index titles found to be cooperating with paper mills. But here's the kicker. Paper mills sometimes resort to bribery, paying journal editors to publish poor-quality papers. And this is the part most people miss. De-indexing, once seen as a powerful tool to combat paper mills, might not be as effective as we thought. Richardson argues that paper mills are growing in size and number despite these efforts. Nandita Quadiri, the editor-in-chief for Web of Science and senior vice president of Clarivate, the analytics firm that operates it, disputes this claim. She argues that the study uses outdated data. Since December 2021, we have delisted a further 187 journals for failing our editorial requirements, including many journals flagged in the study, she says. Quaderi also highlights the introduction of proprietary AI tools in 2023, which are designed to identify untrustworthy journals and questionable content. But Richardson remains skeptical, pointing to another alarming trend: the increasing number of retractions issued in batches by academic publishers. This, he says, is a clear indicator of systematic production of fraudulent science. Just last week, Retraction Watch reported that Frontiers Media retracted 122 studies published by 5 of its journals. The reason? Networks of authors and editors manipulated citations and conducted peer review without disclosing conflicts of interest. Frontiers is not alone in this struggle. The company's research integrity team has identified over 4,000 papers linked to an unethical network, posted on other publishers' journal sites. Mark Robinson, corporate media relations manager at Taylor Francis, another scholarly publisher, echoes this sentiment. He emphasizes the need for the entire academic community, including institutions, funders, and publishers, to tackle the root causes that encourage and enable misconduct. This includes addressing the pressures on researchers around career advancement, rewards and incentives. Richardson and his colleagues have estimated that the number of papers produced by paper mills is doubling every 1.5 years, while the number of retractions is doubling only every 3.5 years. This means that only 15 to 25% of paper mill products will ever be retracted. The implications are staggering. Our main takeaway is that we have no clue how large the problem is and how quickly this may overtake legitimate literature, Richardson warns. But it's clear that it's already surpassed in scale the intervention measures that are designed to contain it. So what can we do? The fight against scientific fraud is far from over, and it's clear that current strategies are falling short. But by shining a light on these issues and fostering open dialogue, we can start to address the root causes and work towards a more transparent and ethical academic community. What are your thoughts on this growing problem? Share your opinions in the comments below and let's start a conversation.